Hello and welcome to the Kubernetes talk series. Today in this series we will be talking about the first component of the Kubernetes architecture, that is API server. As we discussed earlier, the API server is responsible for establishing the communication between the other components within the cluster. Let's discuss in more detail what an API server does. In the API server, all the administrative tasks are performed. All the cert files like TLS certs, client certs, and cert private keys, etc. are stored in the API server that are used to validate the cluster. Whenever you type any REST command, it will first go to the API server. Let us understand the workflow of API server with simple example. Let's say you executed a command kubectl create pod. The kubectl will always communicate to the API server. The API server will authenticate the user and validate the request. Then it will go to the etcd and store the information in the etcd. After that, it will go to the scheduler to schedule a pod in the respective worker node. The scheduler is responsible for scheduling the pods in the node. So it will schedule the pod in the node and the kubelet will send the status to the scheduler and it will send to the API server. Then API server will display the result like pod is created or it's failed or it's pending. That's how the API server communicate with each component within the cluster and make sure that each task is performed successfully. Let us see how you can get the information regarding the API server in the cluster. So this is the environment. Here you can get the information regarding the pods by typing the kubectl get pods command under the kube system default namespace. Here you can see the Kube API server has been deployed and other main components are also present. If you want to see the configuration file of the API server, you can always refer to this path etcd kubernetes manifest file. All the configuration file will be stored in this path only. Here you can see etcd Kube API server, control manager and scheduler. All the manifest file will be stored here. Let's go inside the API server and see what things are stored. So here you can see a lot more information are there. So most important parts are the advertise API address. Here you can see the client cert CA files is present. Come down and you can see etcd server endpoints are also given. The etcd always work on the default port, that is 2379, and the API server port is 6443. Here you can see the TLS cert file are also there and private keys are also there. And lots of more information are stored in the API server YAML file. So that's it for this video. We will see in the next video about the control manager.